so we have Albert Shen, who's running for City Council position 8. So go ahead with the 2-minute introduction.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here. Yes, my name is Albert Shen, running for Seattle City Council number 8. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Eastern Washington. I came to UW and studied environmental chemistry. It's part of my passion for helping us solve climate change and ozone depletion. Then went on to work in the environmental consulting industry for several years, in which I worked on a lot of the numerous cleanup projects here in Puget Sound, including Hanford. After that, I started my own civil engineering and transportation consulting business, a small business. And that's really why I want to run, because this recession was so devastating for a lot of working families, small businesses like myself. I haven't been able to grow the business. It's been a very challenging economy. People are underwater on their loans, they're foreclosed. So for me, it's about creating economic development opportunities, jobs, both local and international initiatives. As a transportation professional, I am clearly interested in a real transportation vision for the city and for this region. I believe in mass transit. I've traveled all over the world. I've seen lots of great mass transit systems that move people quickly, efficiently, safely all across the region. That's a passion of mine where I want to see something for the next 30 to 50 year cycle as far as a real transportation vision for the city. My office is in the International District. I see a lot of the public safety challenges down there. My office is in an affordable housing complex, and I want to see the police be more interactive from a day-to-day, human-to-human interaction. I believe in community policing. I believe they've taken a step back, but I want a more human interaction amongst the neighbors, and I see that clearly every day. We have a lot of problems down there. So, add all that up, that is why I'm running for Seattle City Council and hopefully your support. So,
Great, thank you.
10 seconds to spare.
10 seconds to spare. Now we have 5 prepared questions, 2-minute answers to each of these. Worked off Liz, I think. Number 1.
What is your strategy for implementing, leveraging, and perhaps improving the incentive zoning program to create diverse neighborhoods and assure affordable housing?
One more time.
Be glad to. What is your strategy for implementing, leveraging, and perhaps improving the incentive zone program to create diverse neighborhoods and assure affordable housing?
So, for example, the International District, a very diverse and very ethnically diverse neighborhood of many businesses and families. There's 4,000 people that live down there. Incentive zoning, I feel, is an opportunity. If you take, for example, the South Lake Union, and there's developer money in there, I believe we can take that and leverage to build more housing per dollar. I think is what I read. What happened at South Lake Union was they were going to build 700 units over the next 18 years. At 38 units per year, I don't find that really solving the problem. So I think a lot of different neighborhoods, the South End, like in International District, South Park, or the more challenged areas, there's clearly opportunity. Families that want to live down there, like in the International District, that's what livelihood. It's their, they buy their groceries there, the families are down there, the school buses pick them up down there. So their basic culture is down there, so I think there's a lot of good opportunity when we look at incentive zoning citywide as far as how we can apply that money from other neighborhoods that truly need it. Because then, if you can make it so that people don't have to travel long distances to go get their groceries or get in their cars, like in the idea, then there's a clear opportunity. One, from an environmental sustainability perspective, they don't have to get in a car to use transportation to get it. So there's a lot of opportunities for making neighborhoods vibrant, safe. The children can walk around safely. So with the amount of incentive zoning we're seeing, I think if that's a program that's really going to be implemented citywide, and I think it's a great way to be able to leverage that money to look at a lot of other neighborhoods like White Center, down Radiator Valley, Columbia City. So there's a lot of good opportunity. That's how I would approach it, is to bring those neighborhoods together and solve those problems.
In your view, what is the city's role in ensuring equal educational and achievement opportunity in Seattle public schools?
How to achieve equal opportunity?
Assuring equal educational and achievement opportunity in public schools.
So I'm on the board of trustees for the Seattle Community Colleges, and we have a great program that was started as far as called the 13th year, and that is the ability to there's 2 high schools that are selected in which every graduating senior gets 1 year free tuition at South Seattle College. So as a council member, I clearly would want to be able to leverage that and promote that citywide to all the other schools in the area, in the public school system, to say, hey, this is a great program to allow access into the public school, into the higher education system. And then as far as completion, there's other strategies as far as we have scholarships that really want to, once you get in, to encourage and find ways, pathways to completion, we call it, to encourage completion all the way through. Once they're in, we want students to stay in, get what they need as quickly as possible and get them out into the workforce and make sure what they get out of the workforce is very applicable to the workforce that's needed, especially depending on the workforce industry, whether it's the maritime industry, welding industry, we have a lot of demands for that. So I guess to answer your question, I think there's a lot of different ways in which the community colleges, the public schools, and four-year institutions can come together. And with my background on that, I want to be able to put that together as far as a comprehensive funding plan for students to have access and ability to gain completion.
Voters passed the Parks and Green Spaces Levy in 2008, yet we've experienced cutbacks in staffing and facilities since then. When the levy is up for renewal next year, how can it be constructed to assure voters that their tax dollars will be allocated wisely?
This is the Parks and
Green Spaces.
Parks and Green Spaces, okay. I sit on the Fire Levy Oversight Committee right now, so that's a great educational opportunity for me to see how a levy oversight really is working. I mean, that was a $200 million program to upgrade all the fire departments in the city. With the Parks and Levy, I think it's a great opportunity. How the citizens are involved as far as citizen involvement, as far as the oversight and how that money is spent, as long as there's a good, clear plan as far as what are the best resources and where are we going to build those parks and those green spaces. What is our strategic vision as far as where that's going to go? So, if you could put the last part of that question, just so I'm sure.
Yeah. So, how can the levy be constructed to assure voters that their tax dollars will be spent wisely?
I think that's going to be key between the city council and the citizen oversight committee. I mean, they are a key component as far as oversight, and if you have the right people that are right there and knowledgeable of it, then that feedback is critical. It's my experience directly to that as a citizen member on the Fire Levy Oversight Committee is they've been very responsive. I was brought in as an engineering construction expert, and they needed someone in that realm. Therefore, when I was in there to give my feedback, basically working with the unions and the stakeholders, it was a great way to understand the key issues and actually ask the tough questions. And that's the key thing I think that really needs to be done. Structurally, how to structure it, I can't really say for sure right now. I'm not totally familiar with how that money is structured, but I think given the experience that we have now, that we can actually learn from other levies, how those structures and learn to improve on that.
John, number 4.
There will likely be 2 types of election reforms on the ballot this year: district elections and public financing of campaigns. Do you support either or both of these, and why?
I believe in districts, given what I've seen in the South End underrepresented areas especially. I think there are a lot of communities of color, low-income ones, that have lost representation. And I think the city is at a point in its evolution and it has to look at some sort of district representation to make sure everyone has a voice as far as when it comes to city resources. As far as the public financing, I think it first stems with I would do it in more of a step approach as far as let's get districts first, then we can talk about financing. Because once you have that, then people that are out of the districts that want to run, we can package the public financing package to structure around that. Seems to me it's a little bit of cart before the horse in that realm. I'd rather see districts first, then let's solve the problem of public financing. For what I've seen currently, it seems a little bit complicated. I'm not quite sure how it's going to be implemented, and then you have to pay for a consultant to help you actually manage it. So how simple it's going to be, I can't say. I don't know. But to answer your question, I'd rather see districts first and then work our way toward public financing.
Albert, what are your specific recommendations, and you mentioned community policing and ID earlier, for selecting our new police chief and restoring public confidence in the police department?
That's a big topic.
Yes, it is.
So I think a new chief has to have absolutely certain criteria. One is understanding the diversity of the city. It is clearly a very diverse city of many different ethnic communities, people, religion, whatever. That cultural competency is going to be key. The other factor is, I think, diversity amongst the force is a critical factor, because it has to reflect the population of the city, and if it's not reflected that way, then I don't think you gain a lot of trust in the communities of color, those that are challenged. Next is, I guess, the basic community policing. My philosophy would be that, you know, there's just very basic concepts, you know, and one thing I've heard about is, you know, with certain Asian American communities, you know, you don't touch the top of your head, you know, and police officers do that. So you have to be respectful, understand the culture before you cross that line. So a chief that understands the complexities of the ethnic requirements is going to be very critical, and I think that's where a lot of our issues are just stemming out of, and I clearly want to make sure of that. So those are the three main criteria.
Great, so now we'll open up to follow-up questions from the executive board. I have one, and then Kevin, also Jay. So, you've talked a lot about your own qualifications and what you want to do, and you and I got lunch. I think you're a great guy. You're running against an incumbent, though. So I'm wondering, can you talk specifically, why should Michael Bryan not be on the council?
I wouldn't say it's about him being on the council. It's what I want to do on the council. You know, my background, obviously, and I want to focus on, you know, job creation. I just think that is where my strength is. My qualifications, everything I've done to date. It's not about him, and it's really about what I want to accomplish. I also want to bring diversity to the council, which I think has been high. I have a different journey than he does. My parents immigrated here from China with very little money in their pocket. My mom owned 2 small businesses. My father worked full-time and also had to come work in the businesses. I've had to run my own business during this recession, you know, in a very challenged industry. So my journey as a second-generation Chinese American, I speak the language too, and I find that of a huge value for me into more international development opportunities, especially in Asia. So I just have a different journey and perspective on life and what I want to bring to the council. That's why I want to.
Thank you. Evan and then Jack.
I have a yes or no question with the following. So the first part is this your first? I'm wondering, is this your first time running for office or not? And either way, what have you found to be the most challenging and most rewarding parts of running for office?
Yes, this is my first time running. The most rewarding part has been, I guess, talking to so many different people. And you know, I've lived in different parts of the city, I've worked in different parts, but I guess it's hearing all the neighborhood issues and all the challenges and, you know, the optimism that I think Seattle has. I think Seattle's at a very interesting point of its evolution. You know, as far as we're going to more density and we have more neighborhoods, you know, what are we going to become? So the interesting part for me is to try and solve that problem. And the other half was
Challenging.
The challenging part is making time to talk to people. Because there's so many different groups to chat. I'm running my own business too at the same time, so it's making that time to be able to get out there and meet as many people. It is a very long process, but you know, so time commitment is the biggest factor, I think, but I'm enjoying it.
And Jack, and then Clayton.
Do you have like a top list of strategies, like if you've got elected city council, how you could find ways to help the city address climate change? Do you have, a top list of
Just environmental issues in general?
specifically for the city.
For the city. So one of my big projects I worked on for my business was I was the main project manager to retrofit the SeaTac Airport stormwater system. It was a massive $80 million stormwater retrofit. And that was clearly one of the clear top stormwater retrofit programs in this region. So we learned a lot of best practices. I learned a lot of those things. I would like to bring that to the city level, from the best management practice as far as zinc contamination is one of the biggest things that we fix. one thing we had to do was paint galvanized surfaces. A lot of rooftops has galvanized surfaces. That was one of the major sources of zinc. So we had to find a way to basically paint them and then reduce the factor of zinc by order of magnitude. So those type of things that I've learned as far as doing stormwater management, and that's one thing we have to protect here is the sound from a technical perspective. And I wanted to bring everything I learned from that program and protect the sound specifically for the city.
So, and then Joseph.
You mentioned the need for a transportation vision, and I wonder if you might tell us what your vision is.
I think a great vision would be is, you ever in the DC Metro or these other things? Yeah, it's something like that. Some type of where you can ride from Northgate to West Seattle without having to get in a car, be there within 20 to 30 minutes on a high-speed rail system. That is what I think we need to get. Like I said, the rest of the world is changing rapidly. I've been to China. I've seen what they're building. China now has the largest high-speed rail network in the world. So, what are we doing? We have an international economy that we have to catch up to, and we're playing catch up. And I want to be able to say, yeah, you can get, I hear stories all the time. I spoke to some students today that they take an hour and a half to get from Tacoma to here by bus to go to school. And it's just, I think we need to get past beyond that. I think we've got good elements, but as far as a long-term vision, I think it starts with that. It says, I want this type of system for us. So.
Joseph.
Which current city council member do you admire most and why?
Wow. Well, I can't say anyone in particular. I say, all of them that are running, and as I've learned as part of your question, is the dedication and the difficulty it is to run for office and be in elected office. It's sometimes they tell me when I do this, it's going to be a thankless job. You can get yelled at, blah, blah, blah. But I see the dedication in each and every one of them at whatever capacity that they want to serve. So honestly, I don't have a straight up one which I totally admire.
How about one thing that you admire that an existing council member has done?
One thing that they have done. I think. You want me to name them, or just one thing they've done?
Any policy.
Any policy.
Anything any council member has done.
I think the police reform. I think that's a big one as far as pushing the police accountability. That's a big factor. That's what I think they're pushing, and I know they're all very interested. They want to see how. So that's what I think I really admire them for trying to take on, given the challenge that they have.
We have time for maybe one or two more questions.
I'm also involved with the organization Green River Involved Neighbors, and we're very concerned about public safety and developments along the Aurora corridor. So the 85th, 145th, is that anything you're familiar with and something you consider addressing?
On Aurora Avenue itself, you mean, or just?
Yeah, anything on Aurora.
Yeah, so I am familiar with that because I have a small rental property there along that corridor. Yeah, I see the issues as far as, the drug dealing, the prostitution, graffiti, break-ins. So yeah, I am familiar, I have seen it, and as someone that would be, in council, it's clearly important to me that businesses and residents are not impacted by public safety. We have to do everything we can to mitigate that. There's many different ways that we can do it, whether it's earlier intervention, how to identify strategies to get these people off the streets, and it's social services too. Is we have a lot of mental health funding challenges, and how do we best utilize our city resources to address them. So I think the city needs to do better on that, is allocating our resources to address exactly those problems.
Time for one more?
So if you weren't elected this time, would you run again for an NTC commission?
Yeah, I would consider it. I would consider it, yeah.
So we have time for one more question. Yeah, John.
This is someone who was running for public office in the past, was perhaps running for the wrong office. Would you consider running for the port, or is it too late? It sounds like you have some background and experience that would be very helpful in the port.
What, running for what?
Port Authority, Port,
The Port Commission? Oh, would I consider running for that?
Yeah, given that you've done work there, you know.
I know the port very well for 12 plus years, and yeah, it's a possibility. But you know, my passion's in the city, and the reason really why I want to look at the city council is, you know, I want to raise my family here, and I think you know, I want to make the changes on the ground directly. You know, this is the part I enjoy, is meeting so many people directly. The port is obviously more of a higher policy level type of organization, the commission, you know, to govern that type of agency to do international trade, you know, development. But for me, it's, you know, this is home, and partly that's why I want to do is take care of the home and make sure, you know, our next generation is taken care of. Given all the, you know, just like this district 36, there's so many good, amazing small businesses that I think had suffered so much through this recession, and I was part of that, and that's why I want to help alleviate. Because my work, part of my work with the Obama administration was exactly that, is we're talking about our small business challenges. So my time's about to go up, so just
all right. So we're about out of time. If you want to take 30 seconds for a closing statement.
Well, I want to thank you all for having me come. I definitely appreciate it. I hope to be your get the endorsement of your district here. It is a passion of mine to help bring some change to this city from leadership, effectiveness, utilizing our resources effectively to address our many challenges as far as economic development, education, transportation, public safety. I believe my qualifications, my background, my journey, and my you know, my passion is where I want to go. So I want to thank you for that time, and I hope to get your support.
Great. Thank you very much.